There's not one that I can think of. If you have a good one, maybe we could talk about it, but there's not one that I can think of. Alright, Abzan control. So, a lot of 3-color decks are base 2 colors, splash a third. This one is no exception. So this deck is base black-white control with a green splash for Vraska, Relic Seeker, and Assassin's Trophy, as well as Carnage Tyrant out of the sideboard for helping you beat up Esper. And just go ahead and dive in. We've got a little bit more creatures in some control decks place. We've got Bell-Haunt and Seraph of the scale as these kind of flexible threats that generate value even if they die, which is nice. So let's go ahead and play some matches and see how it goes. His hand needs some more lands in it, but we've got a trophy for their first piece of aggression and then Mortify if we had a third land, so hopefully we'll get to curve out here. Gates. Yikes. This is, hopefully they're playing green-red and they're not playing the 4-color gates. 4-color gates is going to be very hard for us. Green-red, probably easier. Our deck definitely has good tools to beat a creature deck, so fantastical. Is it crazy to ramp them up here? I think I'm just going to go ahead and pass. I'm going to wait and see if we can get them when they adapt. So now, in response to them adapting, we kill this, which means it never actually adapts. They don't get a thing. So they spent their mana here and don't get a thing. Yeah, this isn't the Gates deck. This is a green-red aggro midrange or whatever. Whatever you want to call it. They do get the lovely fart noise still. Looking for a land. Okay, so do I shock this in? I think I shock this in so I can hold up Mortify here. I think we're still kind of just looking for land here. Yeah, I agree. The sound design of this latest set has been quite excellent. Yeah, ideally we want to save Contempt for a Phoenix. I agree with that. I'm gonna bottom this, looking for more lands. I think for the sake of being resource efficient, I am going to go ahead and burn one of these treasures, even though it can turn into a card to play the Bell-Haunt this turn. I don't want to just pass and not use my mana for the turn, basically. This card's super sweet. kind of sad I bought him the other Bell-Haunt now. There's a chance I should just 1-for-1 this Kaya's Wrath with the Goblin Chain Whirler here, I think. Just because of the way my hand's set up. I think there's a chance that maybe that was correct. The animation is incredibly disappointing. Alright. So I think these tokens here are going to be on gain 6 duties. Like the Seraph traded 1-for-1 and this is going to gain a 6 here. Of course, Monolith. Thank you, Monolith. Thank you for the support. Hope you're having a good Tuesday wherever you're at. So we're really looking for Karn or a Vraska at this point. Some way to solidify generating card advantage every single turn. Another treasure map is fine. This isn't permanent card advantage, but it probably increases our card quality enough to get us there. This game was such a good example so far of why the creatures in this deck are so reasonable for a control deck. Like, the creature, we weren't ready to win the game, and the creatures just did a good job of helping us stay alive while we weren't ready to be winning just yet. Yeah, like the Seraph traded 1-for-1 with the Harpooner, and then it gained a 6 over the course of a couple of turns, so it's still just like super reasonable. We're looking for like Karn or Vraska or another Bell-Haunt here. Bell-Haunt would be great, because it would take a card out of their hand, and it would block the Chain Whirler. I'm just going to go ahead and 1-for-1 this Kaya's Wrath at this point. I just want to spend my mana this turn, clear their pressure out. Next turn, I get to scry, flip this, and then draw 2 cards, which is nice. Woof. That's a good question. So, I spent the Kaya's Wrath there to exile their thing rather than the Vraska's Contempt, because Rekindling Phoenix is one of their better cards to get back in the game at this point, and Vraska's Contempt is a clean answer to that. I'm gonna go ahead and keep my health total high. At this point, the average card quality in my deck should be a little bit higher than my opponent's, but the flip side of that is my opponent's deck likely has less lands in it, so they're going to draw a little bit higher action density, like pound for pound. It's really unfortunate that we lost our treasure map there, because that was going to help pull us through this kind of flood. I'm going to take a hit or two from this, I think, before I pull the trigger on this. I don't think there is Mazer, because one of the cards I had scried to the bottom was a Bell-Haunt, which was a card I was interested in drawing. So I think getting the land plus shuffling a card that I'm interested in drawing back in is worthwhile. If there wasn't a card that I wanted to draw on the bottom, I might have declined searching there, but I think because I definitely wanted to draw that Bell-Haunt, I think it's worth putting down. It is worth discussing, though. That's a good question. I think I'm going to take at least one more hit from this, hoping they play out another creature before I Kaya's Wrath here. This guy has to be ghosting. Believe it or not, not everyone who makes good plays is ghosting. Please don't accuse my opponents of that. Contrary to what some salty streamers will tell you, not everyone who plays well is ghosting. I think my health total is still high enough here that I can just take 7. And then I can Kaya's Wrath and then have 2 spot removal spells after. 3 spot removal spells. We do really play 4 Karns, and this game's a great example of why you want 4 Karns in your deck, because Karn's very, very good in board states like this. Even though he doesn't always draw us a good card every turn, he does at least draw us something, and we just want to find things at this point. Get some good animation value on this. Good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. All right. There was definitely a window here where we were kind of in trouble, but the Seraph and the Vraska should put us into garbage time firmly at this point with the removal spells in our hand.
I may take no prisoners.
We are dead to Banefire. That's not a very common card to be played in main decks, though. And actually, we're not dead to Banefire right now, right? They can only deal 8. I can Vraska's Contempt up to 9. I'm about to get triple lightning strikes. I was starting to sweat there for a minute, Chad. I was like, oh no. Oh no. I enjoy a good sweat. I appreciate you, opponent. Love a good sweat every now and then. What do I want to cut here? I feel like I have a lot of cards that could play here. Is it insane to cut Kaya's Wrath in this matchup? And just focus on spot removal? Yeah, we have a lot of 4s. It's also possible that between Lava Coil and Kroll Harpooner, that Seraph of the Scales is just not good enough. Yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna not bring in the 4th Wrath. I'm gonna bring in these, and I'm gonna cut these. How do you feel about Carnage Tyrant just as like a big beefcake? Do I want just like like it answers their Carnage Tyrants potentially, and it's just like real big? I feel like it's probably not better than any of the cards I already have, though. It is a lot of closing power. You're not wrong. Cut a swamp. Cut a land for a 6-drop. Get out. Out. This hand's pretty good. Having the 4th land guaranteed here feels great. There are in fact Karns in our deck. Look at that. Unfortunate that this is not a Moment of Craving. Right on time, Moment of Craving. Welcome to the party. There's been a quantifiable long-term bump of viewers after your stints on the Twitch front page. It's hard to quantify specifically whether it's the Twitch front page versus just Arena becoming more popular in general, because like both of those things were happening simultaneously, basically. Hey, look at that. Well, welcome, Power. I'm sure there's some. Obviously, we have a few. Yeah, there was a perfect storm of good things happening at the same time, for sure. Speaking of, I got my Tempo Storm jerseys in the other day, so that'll be fun. I can wear those this weekend. So, do I want to consume here? Or do I want to Vraska's Contempt? Yeah, Day 9's given some good press too. He does good stuff. He's played taken a shine to a few of my decks. Good people. Perfect Storm, exactly. We've got a lot of 4s. Which one do we want to play here? So the Bell-Haunt's pretty bad because it can't block their 4/4. This is probably a good turn for Consume just because it does kill their best thing, which is nice. This is the worry. They get to fart this off right away and get another one. That's pretty good. Okay, so the Kaya's Wrath is actually great here because this lets me play Karn plus Karn. And then after they play more stuff out next turn, I can just Kaya's Wrath as a reset, which is great. If they have Lightning Strike, Shock, or Colossus, I'm a little bit sad because Karn dies, but I think that's fine because, like, then they spent a card killing Karn, and Karn did replace himself, even if it's just with a land. Now, I don't get a literal headache from the chat. Oh, I also misplayed here. I shouldn't have played my land out before plussing Karn. I could have put this shock land into play tapped after playing Karn. So this is a small tempo thing. It's either going to cost me tempo or cost me life later. So important to note there, should have not played my 5th land before I plus the Karn. I don't get a headache from following Twitch chat, but I do miss more messages that I previously missed. And some of the aggressive timing out we do of things that are just clutter, basically, definitely helps with not missing as many messages as I would otherwise. Because, like, if this chat was like a lot of other Twitch stream chats where it just, like, scrolled endlessly when you hit 4 digits worth of people, like, I would miss a lot.
Do not pity me.
Very well played by the opponent here, choosing again to not overextend into my Kaya's Wrath. I'm pretty obligated to Wrath here if I have it, because they have 2 threats in play that are kind of scary. So opponents played this game really well. Hey, Dying Slowly, thanks for the 5 months. I appreciate you shipping your Bezo bucks back this way again. Thanks for keeping me employed here. many crab people are we through at this point? These are the last ones. Okay. Another Kaya's Wrath. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this into play tapped and pass the turn here. I think the Bell-Haunt's okay. I guess the Bell-Haunt definitely looks worse here than Seraph would be. Maybe especially on the play, I would rather have, like, Carnage Tyrants and Bell-Haunts. The more I think about it, the more Carnage Tyrant seems pretty reasonable. If they play another threat, we'll Kaya's Wrath. If they don't play another threat, we'll end step Vraska's Contempt. I think this deck probably has less garbage time than something like, say, Esper Control, just because we do have more closing power than they do on average. Little bit awkward here that I have 8 mana, but can't play this Bell-Haunt out as well, just because I don't have 4 white. Stock, Drakes, or Phoenix, and those are my choices. What do you show up with? Both those decks had pretty similar performances this weekend. I think Phoenix hedged out Drakes by a little bit, but I think the unknown factor on Phoenix definitely had something to do with that. I think I'm just going to go ahead and Contempt this. It's possible that I just leave this around because Bell-Haunt kind of stops that inside of combat. Trophy's a good pickup here because it means I can trophy this Growth Chamber Guardian and still hold Contempt for their next threat in case they have like a Phoenix. They discarded Lava Coil. Okay. Yeah, Lava Coil's a reason to not have Seraph in my deck. The deck I'm shuffling is a red-green Madness deck from my childhood. It's technically Legacy legal, but it's not very good. So when they attack here, I'm gonna block because maybe they'll collision or they'll Colossus their thing. Are they gonna consume? Are they gonna consume my Bell-Haunt? Read. They're contempting. That seems worse than consuming because you gain more. Go ahead and kill their 4/4. And again, we're down to top decks, which I think slightly favors of us, but only slightly. Definitely can go either way here. I guess I technically should wait to Assassin Trophy because I gave them a 3rd land there, and that 3rd land would enable them to play a Legion War Boss and attack with it this turn. Yep. Alright, so like I said, it was going to be close here, and now we're just fully on top deck mode. So we take 2, so we stay at 19 here. Although they should attack us for 2/2, so we're gonna end up at 17. Thanks, Canna. The pink hair is a lot of fun. It brings a lot of smiles when I go out in public, which is a good time. A lot of adults don't have jobs where they can do things like have pink hair. Just attack me for 2. Yikes. Yikes. 1 Vraska, please. 1 removal spell, please. Mortify. That's exact. Are we dead? We take 2, go down to 13. And then next turn we take 11. So we're going to 2 here. We're up a game right now, so like we're gonna have to play the 3rd game on the play. They didn't haste because if I have a removal spell and they haste and they don't get any damage, whereas if I have a removal spell and they don't haste, they get 2 points of damage still. Yeah, opponent paced their threats out really well. I almost want to cut most of my Kaya's Wrath just because they've been playing around them so well. I guess I'm down to just 2 of them. I did draw both of them. They only had 2 and they just drew both of them. I almost want to just play all my spot removal. Yeah, I'm not gonna board this back in just because they have Lava Coil in their deck. And the card's real medium against Lava Coil. Choose your own lulls with the brand new Prime support. There's a lot of great people making a lot of great stuff on Twitch. You can chip those base of bucks to every month. Thanks for sending them my way. Rage cut a land. Arrgh. Jesse and Sweet. Gonna need... See, I might get in a little bit of trouble because it kind of needs lands and removal spells. No turn 2 play is absurd for us. I think I'm gonna keep this cast down. The opponent is in fact in chat. Have to do this now. It's gonna get hexproof on their turn. If you click on the user list, you can filter for there's someone with the same username as their arena name in chat currently. Yeah, ghosting isn't cheating. Just for the record, ghosting does not break any of the terms of service of Magic Arena. DWMFFT, thanks for the 8 months. I appreciate that. Thanks for keeping me around. No, I don't want a Tyrant here. Remember, all of these treasures can turn into extra cards for me.
I didn't live through hell to lose to you.
I think ghosting should be considered cheating. Not if it's not against the rules.
Like you.
Cheating, the definition of cheating is you're breaking the rules of whatever you're doing. So, like, if cheating isn't listed as against the rules, it can't be cheating. Yeah, I think we're going to consecrate the Phoenix to start here and then probably play Carnage Tyrant. And for the record, their username just being in chat also doesn't mean they're watching per se. They could have been someone who watches the stream and then minimized and muted the thing after the match started and they saw they queued into me. You don't necessarily close everything out. They could also be watching, but we don't know that for sure.
The wilds are my shield.
So Carnage Tyrant lets us apply pressure here a little bit. Getting a little bit Karn flooded here, which sucks. Seeing a little bit of the clunk of this deck, just like not having all of our tools necessarily come together ideally for us. Yeah, this feels really bad. We need to draw Vraska's Contempt here would be our ideal spell. Any removal spell, really. So they're going to give us Mortify here because it's the more expensive removal spell. So we can't cast it on their Harpooner this turn. Play the map out. Can't attack here, unfortunately. Maybe I'm supposed to attack just to get pressure in this turn because there's a chance we won't be able to push through next turn.
No one knows the
we need to make sure that Vivian doesn't ultimate. They're gonna kill Karn here. I am at 17 too. That is super aggressive. I mean, I'm willingly showing everyone who's watching my stream my hand, just for the record. It's illegal IRL to show your hand. Listen, this isn't Trump's Twitter account. You don't just get to post lies here and not have repercussions. So we time out nonsense like that. You are allowed to reveal private information that you know to your opponent at any time during a match of Paper Magic.
Most wounds can
Adam Gardner, thanks for the 14-month resub. I appreciate that. Thanks for keeping me around.
The wilds are my shield.
Think we're dead? We're probably dead. Hey, you know what's really weird? You know what's really weird? After we boarded out all the copies of Kaya's Wrath, they stopped playing around it. That's what's funny. Remember how we complimented them on playing around Kaya's Wrath really well, and then I boarded it out, and then they didn't play around it anymore? Weird. So probably did land on the side of likely ghosting, but it is what it is. Not a whole lot we could do about that. How unusual. Listen, what you need to understand is that, like, anyone who would ghost in a match where, like, we're actually playing for nothing, they need the win way more than we do. It's okay, really. It's gonna be okay. This vibe's actually pretty good. I would love a land on top. Thank you. What is ghosting? Ghosting refers to a person, so because games like Magic aren't real time, people can watch the stream while we're playing the match, so they know what's in our hand while we're playing. It's like cheating in a match of F&M, right? Like, you're not like, what are we really doing here? Like, it's F&M. Happy with that. They spell pierce this, that's a win for us, so kind of okay with that. They're like shock lands or check lands better. They're both better and worse in different ways. Opponent opting to not spell pierce. A+. A+. Alright, so upkeep stop went away, so let's put that back. Looking for just piles of removal spells at this point. We're gonna keep activating our treasure maps every turn here, because flipping them over to start generating extra mana is gonna be ideal here. If competitive tournaments ever come, will you cover your hand on stream? No, I'll do like we did with the Twitch Rivals tournament recently and just stream on a delay. That sounds wonderful, actually. This is a matchup where Bell-Haunt is not particularly good, but Seraph is fantastic. I need to try and work out the details of how the sub-tournament's gonna work, Iceman. When I get it figured out, I'll be posting about it. When I get it figured out, I'll scream it from the rooftops. That's wild that it tapped my only white source. It doesn't matter because I've got these, but kind of surprised that it tapped my white source there with a double white card in hand. Now the double obsession probably means we're not going to be able to play through here. It means that the flow that they're going to keep going of interaction is going to be heftier than the string of interaction we can push through. No, Bell-Haunt's the spirit without flying. It's incredibly awkward. It's very bad in this matchup. I mean, to be fair, they're not adapting Terramander anytime soon, really. It's a 4/4. They don't need to adapt it. Correct. You can't adapt it. My point is they don't need to adapt it, chat. They put the counter on this because they don't need to adapt it. They put it on here rather than here because they want to use this to protect their threat. That's very good. So we have to draw this, and then we have to draw another removal spell and hope they don't have a counter spell in their hand. So probably just Dunzo. The opening hand we kept definitely wasn't good in that matchup. Hard to know exactly what hands you're gonna want to see. One of the biggest downfalls of playing a deck like this is that you're gonna have a lot of games like that where you just kind of go, well, the hand we kept wasn't good in this matchup, and now we die because of it. That's just like a symptom of playing a deck like this. I think I just cut a bunch of the 4-mana stuff. You might want these consumes over Karns. Yeah, it's possible. That's a card we might want to add to our 75. Actual factual Kaya might just be really good. We just played a couple of her in Esper. Maybe we want a couple of just actual factual Kaya in this deck. I could see that being reasonable. The problem here is I don't want to cut. One of the things that's really easy to do in a deck like this is it's easy to end up cutting too many of your win conditions, basically. Is not ideal. Kaya is very good in this matchup. So yeah, let's try a couple of those after this. Maybe we can cut some of the 4s, like maybe the 4th card. Doom Whisper, calling Doom Whisper really good against mono blue, I think is a stretch. Any 5-mana spell you manage to resolve is probably really good against mono blue, but most of them don't resolve. even resolving a 4-mana Seraph is often a challenge. What does meta deck mean? I feel like the term meta is used like agile development in Magic the Gathering. It's just turned into this buzzword that doesn't actually have any meaning. It's just like jargon that people throw into their, so what does meta deck mean? What is tier, what's the contents of meta deck versus tier deck in your description there? Your question. I'm not sure I understand how you're using those words. Meta equal, well, what does tiered mean? What does that mean? So I asked you to describe 2 words, and then you used one of those words to describe the other word. So that's not how definitions work. And the problem is that, like, I feel like people try to, like, I often hear people, like, write these books about how they're smart and they're metagaming, and it's like, well, if you, like, even look at the last Pro Tour, right? Like, there's a dozen different decks in this format, and, like, if there's a dozen different decks, and if there's a dozen different decks that have representation, and then there's another dozen fringe decks past those, like, once we look at all of those, like, what are we, like, is there even really, like, can you call this, like, a super defined meta game? So, like, what does it actually mean if the top half of the field is 12 decks, and the bottom half of the field is another 20 decks, like, how does that end up working out in reality? So I think we're at a point where I can afford to play around Spell Pierce. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass back here, I think. Yeah, but, like, how do you define popular? So, like, what does popular mean? Like, that's, like, definitions that are super subjective, I feel like aren't super helpful for like communicating ideas between each other, right? So, like, here's another thing. This is something that always comes up when we talk about this. Someone just mentioned MTG Goldfish. MTG Goldfish is not representative of what's actually being played. MTG Goldfish gets a lot of their data from Magic the Gathering Online, which has artificially diversified results. So, like, the numbers you see on MTG Goldfish are, like, wrong in one direction or the other by a pretty significant margin. Alright, so we're hoping that this Kaya's Wrath or the next one sticks. So, hopefully the next one sticks. There were 6 or 7 clearly defined decks that were head and shoulders above. All right, you're going to make me pull up. I'm going to finish my data article for tonight. You're going to make me pull out my spreadsheet. You're going to make me pull out my spreadsheet. Where are my spreadsheets? Are we dead here yet? Can we be done? Alright, so you're saying there's a chance. No, like end step, Merfolk, Trickster, untap, Curious Obsession, then we die. Aggro heavy meta means the core of any aggro deck. So like here, but sure, like, for instance, I feel like the way a lot of people describe, hey, thanks for the Prime BDP. We're gonna finish this match here really quick and then we can talk about what I mean based on the numbers. Consecrate doesn't do anything. Consecrate doesn't do anything if they have Curious Obsession. We don't, accurate metrics don't exist. That's the thing you don't get. All these people that come from other card games, accurate metrics literally just don't exist for Magic. They're all skewed in different directions and the sample sizes are crap. People like to try and make strong conclusions from data that you can't draw strong conclusions from for lots of different reasons for the various data sources. People want, I feel like people just really want to feel smart and like, oh, I was smart because I looked at this data and used it in a meaningful way, when the actual thing is you basically are just kind of guessing. Like, the data that we have is, like, bad to the point of it's kind of just guesswork. It's not accurate to the point where I've tuned my deck and it's going to be good against 50% of the field when I play against. It's like, well, we don't really know what 50% of the field is, right? God bless you, Sword. Thanks, Rich. Do we have a chance here? And if Seraph the Scales resolves, we probably have a pretty good chance. Alright, well now I get to Karn. I get to Karn plus Seraph here, which is great. We're leading on Karn here because if I play Seraph, then Karn can get Spell Pierced. I've been very good at playing around Spell Pierce so far, so I want to continue doing that. I think I'm actually gonna... Nah, I was gonna say, maybe I down tick her. I'm actually gonna plus him here.
I'll make use of that later.
I think I actually want to do this. So, like, here's the thing, though, Mark. Even there, you're saying the deck list I'm using is X% of the thing. It's like, well, it's not actually X% of the thing. That's the thing we've been talking about. It's actually a percentage that's kind of unknown.
What was lost is now returned.
I think we've turned the corner here. They must just be drawing lands. Sure, I'm not saying you can't draw meaningful conclusions. I'm saying that too many people try to draw conclusions that are too specific because they want to just do something with data that it can't do. Well, I wanted to scry during my upkeep, but Arena decided we weren't going to do that. Alright, on to the game we have to try and win on the draw. Basically, the thing that went off on the data rant is when people try and say that they've created a deck, Kane's Wrist, thanks for the prime support. When people try and say that they've created a deck that's a metagame deck, what I think they're actually saying is their deck is bad, but they think it's good in 2 or 3 specific matchups, so they're hoping to get really lucky with their bad deck and only play against the few matchups that are really good for it. In general, except in very, very narrow metagames that are incredibly unbalanced, you should just play decks that are good and not try and play decks that are good against specific decks. Because except when TCG formats are incredibly unhealthy, they're very varied. And you should just play good cards and cohesive strategies rather than saying, oh, my deck is 90% against Sultai, but 10% against the field, and then you get dumpstered because you don't play against any Sultai. What is good? Cards that are objectively powerful. Cards that see play in a variety of strategies. What's going on, Fizzy Dragon? Thanks for the 17 months. Yeah, cards like Krasis. Cards like Kaya's Wrath. Like this deck's a good example of just playing cards that are good. This archetype isn't an established archetype, right? But if you look at all the cards this deck is playing and think about how many other decks in the format play Cry. Do other decks in the format play Kaya's Wrath? Do other decks in the format play Seraph of the Scales? Karn. Like, most of the cards in here see play in other decks in the format that are established decks because they're just good cards. I think we're probably cycling Consecrate here on their Spell Pierce just to try and hit our 4th land. You know, I wonder if I was supposed to do that last turn to try and hit my 4th land then. Yeah, I think I should have done that during my turn, because if I draw a 5th land this turn, I could have played Cry through Spell Pierce. Yeah, I could have played Cry through Spell Pierce this turn. Let's lead on this now. And then next turn we can go Sunpetal Grove, Cry through Spell Pierce. They had Wizard Retort, so it didn't really matter. So, there are certain cards that are good. There are certain cards that are good objectively. It's all subjective. Objective is the wrong word. There are certain cards that are powerful just because they're proactive. So, in general, your answers are your specific cards. And your threats, your cards that are going to be attacking people, are the cards that are more generic. Why do I need black up? Oh, because they could put Curious Obsession on here? They could have Dive Down. They could have Dive Down. Got it? I just let the auto tapper do its thing. And I wasn't paying attention because we were talking. Alright, didn't matter. And now they're going to dive down. This is actually great for me, right? Everything worked out better than expected. Magic stuff when you're lucky, etc., etc. Can you say why it's a bad play, Observance Observer? I prefer if people in chat don't put down my opponents the same way they don't put down me without being helpful. So if you think a play is bad, say this play is bad because, and then articulate yourself. Explain why it's bad. So if my opponent comes back and watches, they can learn from what you think is a mistake. Gosh, we're running good. Actually, let's play Karn first here. Plus, before we show them we have cast down.
Choice.
I do want to get some Kayas in here. You can always find past streams on my website. Could not find a Bant Walkers list anywhere. Nope, it's not something I've played. Really, there really isn't a compelling reason to play Bant Walkers because the only really good green Planeswalker this season is Vivian, and Vivian doesn't go into a Planeswalker deck. Well, no, their goal, chat, was to kill my Seraph and not have me leave tokens behind. Alright, so I think I want to drag my curve down here a bit and get a couple of Kayas in the main. I'm going to trim a Karn and another 4-drop. Maybe I move Bell-Haunt to the sideboard. That seems reasonable. Let's give this a try. Yes. Great. Well, we just added a couple of Kayas. A little bit fortunate to win this matchup. Let's try it again. See if lightning strikes twice. Need to find a string of removal spells right away. This one's going to be over before it started. Land last time. I'm gonna cut a land. I'm bringing my curve down a good bit. Yeah, cutting a land's probably crazy. Let's cut a treasure map. I don't think I have a good measure for those types of things, Boodring. Can you explain the utility? Yeah, so Consecrate Consume, at its worst case, is a removal spell. So 4 mana, kill your thing. And there's a lot of miscellaneous graveyard things in this format. Like you can counter Memorial to Folly activation of Sultai, or you can exile an Arc-like Phoenix before it comes back. And we refer to the floor as being high on a card like Consecrate Consume because Consecrate says draw a card on it. Even when it doesn't do a lot, it still replaces itself with a new card. So it's a card that even when it's at its worst, it's still very reasonable. It's possible that I should save the cast downs for Temptations. Yeah, we played Esper Control this morning with 2 Kaya in it, actually, and it felt pretty reasonable. Land here is an excellent draw. Gives us some info about what's going on up here. All the details on my deck submission can be found here. Thanks, Bad Oddish. I'm glad to have you here. Hope you're having a good one. Wizard's Retort's just like better negate in a way, so... Is it a mistake not to counter Duress there? No, I don't think so, because they didn't have 2 counter spells available to them. So they just wanted to... They didn't want me to, like, kill their thing, basically, because they only had 1 thing. Yeah, Esper was fine this morning. I mean, Esper's always been good in terms of power level. It's just tedious in terms of how it wins the game. And Kaya felt like it did help that a little bit. The old turn 5 Buddy Land came into play tapped. Yikes. So this negate is just like sitting here staring me in the face. I could just jam this Karn into it. Maybe I'm supposed to jam this Karn into it. I don't know, I have 3 more Duresses in my deck. Which of these would I rather resolve? I'd rather Karn resolve, so I'm going to lead on Treasure Map. Okay, and now that they let Treasure Map resolve, I'm just going to pass the turn. I also want to make sure I don't play into Spell Pierce this game. Perfect, now I have another card. Feel like we've solidly entered garbage time at this point.
I battle for the forces of good. You may regret that choice.
Yeah, I agree, Mega. Like, for instance, the Pro Tour is a great example of Data not having good measures for play skill. So, for example, Esper Control and Mono Blue were the 2 decks at the recent Pro Tour that overperformed by a small margin each. But it's impossible to really know, did those decks overperform because the decks are better? Or did they overperform because players like Reed, Duke, and Autumn were the ones playing Mono Blue? Did Sultai underperform because the deck's not very good? Or did it underperform because it was the known best deck going into the tournament, which meant that worse Magic players picked Sultai because it was a comfort choice because they were hoping to win matches based on the power level of their deck? Like, those are things that you can't really quantifiably measure when looking at Magic data. Those are the types of things that keep players like me and people who have played a ton of Magic interested in playing the game again and again and again. I mistakenly tapped my treasure cove there. Didn't mean to do that. Didn't matter because we were light years ahead. And again, as a math person and a data junkie, I love numbers. I love looking at them. My article this week is going to be talking about numbers that came out of the Pro Tour, but it's going to include my normal disclaimer of, hey, these are fun to look at and we can maybe think about some things, but like, we can't say with certainty at all that like these things are good and these things are bad. The sample size isn't big enough, Boneless, to not worry about things like I'm talking about. Corner Deli, thanks for the Prime support. I appreciate that. Welcome. Thanks for keeping me around. Mortify is a good pickup. How big of a sample size, dude? I would encourage you to go look at sites like HS Replay and other sites like that and look at the quantity of data that they track. Just the raw numbers worth of matches that they are tracking on sites like that compared to like what we see in Magic. There's a few of them. hsreplay.net is one, I believe. There's 3 or 4 of them for different Hearthstone things. Games in the last 7 days. 6,285,000. Yes. So do you understand why, like, looking at the Pro Tour with the 500 players or whatever is like, maybe this sample's not big enough. So HS Replay, I believe, is the one. They're actually working on a tool to track stuff in Magic Arena too. What am I supposed to do here? Okay, we have to just start deciding what we're jamming in here. Do we go... I think I'm just going to put this into play tapped and cast down again this turn. I don't think I want to play Seraph into 2 mana. They have Essence Capture and Wizard's Retort available here. This is the problem with sequencing this way. It's like, do I play Cry this turn or do I play Seraph? If I play Seraph first and they have Essence Capture, now I can't kill this with Cry of the Carnarium anymore. And these are just games. Even Esper Control gets devoured in games like this, right? You just like don't have the tools to keep up. Trey, thanks for the Prime support. I appreciate that. Welcome. Thanks for shipping your Bezo bucks this way, this button. Yep. And at the end of the day, it just didn't matter what we played. We just like had all the things. And they're pretty likely to have all of the things in a situation like that because they're drawing 2 cards per turn, right? We had a lot of interaction. Honestly, the thing that our draw was missing there to maybe punch through was that we didn't see any of our copies of Duress. The reason, and for people that aren't familiar with tempo decks in Magic, a tempo deck is one that's gaining ahead on resource efficiency. And that game was a fantastic example of my opponent generating tempo. They traded a card like Dive Down for my cast down. So I spent 2 mana, they stopped it with 1 mana. I cast Seraph, they cast Essence Capture. They spent 2 mana to stop my 4 mana. And it didn't matter at the end of the game what cards were left in my hand because I wasn't able to spend my mana and get myself into the game to actually put my cards down. Alright, so... Hey Jeff, do you think it's correct of Autumn to side out all the Jins in the finals there? Unlike many Magic players, I'm going to tell you that Autumn's probably, actually, a lot of people will probably tell you this too. Autumn's probably played more mono blue than most of us, so whatever she did was probably correct. Whatever she did was probably correct. What they did was probably correct. Yes, thank you. Thank you. What they did was probably correct. Thank you. It is correct. That is their preferred pronoun. All right. Abzan control. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like this is just worse Black-White Angels in a lot of ways. I feel like this is just worse Black-White Angels in a lot of ways. Like, it's doing a lot of similar things, and it doesn't have the powerful proactive draws that you generate with History of Benalia. And I feel like that is a big lacking. Like, you have games, the big problem with control decks like this is that, like that last game against Mono Blue, right? That last game against Mono Blue, they just ran us over because their deck was good. That's gonna happen to you. That's gonna happen to you. You're just gonna get run over by Mono Blue. This deck, however, doesn't have... Thanks for the bits, John A. I appreciate that. Hope you're having a good one. This deck doesn't have its own nut straw to push back in the other direction. So you're gonna get run over by aggro decks just being aggressive, and you're never going to get a free win back in the other direction. So, like, you're losing points to stumbling, but you also never have those powerful ways to come back in the other direction to make those percentage points back up. So... This deck doesn't really have a card like Teferi to dunk people. It just doesn't exist in these colors currently. Yeah, I don't know why people get so caught up on the pronoun thing, right? Like, there's two types of people in the world. It's like calling someone the wrong name, right? You're like, oh, I said the wrong name. Sorry about that. I'm gonna say your right name moving forward, right? Like, it's literally the exact same thing. Just like call people what they want to be called. It's really easy and simple. I don't know why people make a big deal about it. All right, what are we doing? Moving along to Grixis Dragons up next. Lots of flying things today. Flying things are good in this format. I don't update the deck queue midstream, Jonah. So I saw your message, and when I finish streaming, I go through and I add all of the bits and donations and stuff like that. Thanks, Red. Hope you're having a good one. Correct. Yes, it's like a title. It's all. I don't know. People are so terrified of change that they push back on anything that's a little bit different to them. It's sad. Ugh. Loved your rival stuff. Felt like you had a good run. Much love from the YouTube fan base. Boy Toy Troy, thanks for checking in for the 7th month in a row and keeping me around. I appreciate it. Correct, Ostin. Correct. Ooh, get a good restart in between. It's nice. It's nice when the audio starts to bubble in between matches, so I don't have to stop in between. These people are great. Buy their stuff. Nerd Rage Gaming this weekend. I'm going to be playing at their tournament on Saturday. Twitch.tv/NRG series if you want to watch me play in paper for a match here or there. Am I going to play? Yeah, I'm playing Teamer Climb this weekend. I think I'm playing 1 card. I'm adding a 4th Lava Coil from the list that I played at the Rivals. All of the decks that we play here, Lord Gibbon, are decks... I think you know this, though. Is your thing literally just play different things? Alright.